Hey everyone, and welcome to What Did I Miss? Where today I'm breaking down the Burn Theory shattering episode Su'Kal, which is the 11th episode of the third season of Star Trek Discovery. It appears that we now know the source of the burn catastrophe that crippled most of the galaxy and has made villainous characters like Osyraa that much more powerful, and who becomes a much greater threat to the crew in this episode. Many crew members got to step out of their normal skin, and it led to some tense and powerful moments for them as they tried to navigate through their ordeal. One of my favorite parts of the episode was how it once again drove home the theme of connection that has been prevalent throughout Season 3. But this week I think they led it a little closer to home by not only showing us, for the second week in a row, what the power of a mother's love can do, but also how our connections to our partners, family, and culture can also compromise our focus. I thought it was a beautiful and dark episode, and I can't wait to continue my praise of the aesthetic throughout this video once I get into the spoiler section. But in the end, I don't know if I'm fully satisfied by the apparent cause of the burn, while also realizing that with 2 more episodes this season, there may still be more to this story than has been revealed. Given the ending though, this episode does feel like one of those old Deep Space Nine, first part of a 3-part storyline treks to end the season, so we may not fully understand the ramifications of the events that transpired until the story is over. I will release a video in a couple of days that will play the trailer for the next episode and discuss that as well as a sneak peek, so subscribe and hit the bell so YouTube will let you know once it drops. Also, I started a new Patreon membership for 2021 for anyone that would like to join up and become a misfit. Along with the usual perks that you would expect to find in a Patreon membership, I'm also donating part each month to charity, and you will help decide which charity each month. I will go into further details towards the end of this video, so be sure to stick around until the end so you're not left asking, what did I miss? The weird truck means we are in spoiler territory. Do kids even still get spoilers on their cars? Is that still a thing? I think I just aged myself, but I don't care. Somehow it's Christmas 2020, but still feels like we are in March 2020. Merry Christmas to anyone who celebrates it, and happy holidays to everyone everywhere. I do hope that 2021 brings you, everyone you love, and everyone that loves you, health and prosperity. Now that mushy crap is out of the way, let's get nerdy. The episode starts right when the last episode ended, with the crew at the Irish wake held for the apparent passing of Philippa Georgiou. Adira is looking on, and it is obvious that they are not as comfortable as the rest of the crew. Stamets lets them know that they have them as well as Dr. Culber, and that they have the crew as well. As I mentioned in my last video, I love the space dad dynamic that Dr. Culber and Stamets have over them, and by the end of the episode it is obvious that Adira feels strong enough to risk their life to save them as well. As Stamets and Adira are speaking, Gray appears, and while Stamets cannot see Gray, he knows by their reaction that he is there. Stamets excuses himself, but not before telling a person he cannot see that if they were not at a memorial, he would give him a piece of his mind, like any good father would. I thought the reason Gray was not around was purely to push Adira to make new connections, but it appears that Gray is also having issues with this new form of existence. Honestly, Ian Alexander is too good of an actor not to have around, so I really think that given his lines in this episode and the fan reaction to his character so far, I would not be surprised if the crew are able to bring him back in corporeal form. Dr. Culber was brought back through the mycelial network, so perhaps they will create a similar procedure to bring Gray back to life fully. Later in the episode, we even see him helping Adira make modifications to the ship, so it's obvious he has a lot to add to the crew. An interesting subplot created there would be the symbiote, because if I remember my Trill Physiology 101 class, a joined host cannot survive being separated from its symbiote, so if Gray were to get the symbiote back, Adira might not be able to survive. Of course, they could just say that Adira is human, so they will survive, but that's probably getting into a Season 4 plotline. A small Easter egg in the scene, if you notice there's a floating display of a ship behind Stamets, and that is the USS USS Shran, that not only participated in the Battle of Binary Stars that started the Klingon War, but is of course named after General Shran, who was one badass Andorian and played by Star Trek royalty Jeffrey Combs. The Discovery computer finds a life sign emanating from the signal, and everyone is surprised except for Saru. Apparently the spots that were on Dr. Isa's head were not solely caused by the radiation, but also caused by her showing signs of pregnancy. If Dr. Isa looks familiar, she is played by actress Hannah Spear, who also played Saru's sister Sarana last season. The Discovery jumps to the coordinates, and I really love the visual right here because it reminded me of a ship out at sea right before a huge storm is about to hit, and sure enough, the ship is thrown into one. The shields are quickly dropping, but instead of leaving, Saru brings the ship closer to the signal against the subtle objections of his science officer. Book offers to take his ship in because it's smaller, and again, the imagery of a ship at sea is brought up as Book states that the radiation is hitting the ship like winds on a large sail. Book takes off in his ship, and Discovery jumps outside the storm. How cool was watching Book's ship jump around and morph around? I really love the design of that ship. Unfortunately, the ship cannot handle the radiation though, and Book starts to feel the effects, but is able to send the Discovery the coordinates he needs before passing out. Book has been wanting his chance to show his usefulness, after talking to Saru and asking to stay on Discovery, and he puts his life on the line here to do so. Back on the bridge, the data that Book Ship provides shows the planet that is the source of the signal is a planet made of pure dilithium. Discovery contacts Admiral Vance and updates him of their findings. Saru tells him that he wishes to accompany the away team to find the life sign, which may be the child of Dr. Isa. Vance also tells Saru that the Emerald Chain has made advances toward Calamar, the home of Saru, in an effort to draw them out. Vance gives him the okay and tells Saru to be careful. We then switch to the sickbay, and Grudge is there getting checked up after their last adventure. I keep thinking there's more to this cat, but you would think that a scan by a Starfleet doctor would pick that up. Let me know in the comments, is Grudge just a cat, or is there more to meets the eye there? Book is excited by the possibility of a planet made from dilithium, and Burnham tells him that she will be going on the away mission and that she is worried that Saru cannot make the hard call. It really looks like they are steering her back towards the captain's chair, so I hope that somehow Saru is not taken off the show, because he is one of my favorite characters at this point. We then see Dr. Culber telling Stamets that he's going on the away mission as well, and Stamets is obviously worried. As I said in my trailer breakdown, their dynamic reminds me of the Deep Space Nine episode Change of Heart that dealt with the now married couple of Worf and Jadzia Dax going on a mission together, and one becoming compromised because of their need to save the other. It is really a good conversation about how serving with people you love affects your judgment, and it is a great episode. Culber states that his experience alone in the network makes him a unique and valuable candidate for the mission, and of course, anyone who has taken the Hippocratic Oath would feel the need to rise to this challenge. We then see Burnham and Tilly speak about her taking command, and Burnham relays a story to her to help her confidence. The Discovery jumps to the coordinates provided by Book Ship, and the away team beams to the planet as Tilly takes the comm. When the away team arrives, they find that they are each a different species. The most astonishing transformation is to see Doug Jones look like Doug Jones, a role he rarely plays. I love when Star Trek shows an actor who is usually covered in prosthetics without their makeup, and in the past, Michael Dorn, Brent Spiner, Armin Shimmerman, and Ethan Phillips, and others all got opportunities to play roles that did not require their usual facade. They understand that they are in some type of holographic program, and Culber tells them that as long as they are returned in 4 hours, they should be safe. They come across a training program that seems to be malfunctioning, and they surmise that the prolonged exposure to the radiation has corrupted the program. I think it is interesting that Dr. Culber says that he can only imagine what it has done to the life sign, because this not only foreshadows the reveal later, but also links the harmful biological effects of the radiation to the technology of the holo program. They arrive in a structure that looks like the relativity picture created by M.C. Escher, which is another sign that this is a waking dream or hologram. One very interesting line of dialogue is that Saru is not familiar with his heart racing at the sight of being at a high distance. This is because Kelpians do not interpret fear the same way as humans do, so his heart never would have raced before, so to speak. One thing that probably does not get talked about enough is the contribution that Doug Jones has made not only as the character Saru, but to the Kelpian species. He follows in a long line of Star Trek alien actors, such as the aforementioned Armin Shimmerman, who have turned the Ferengi species from a joke into a complex species, and Mark Almino and Andrew Robinson, two men who showed just how great a Cardassian can be. How amazing was this castle, though? It looked like something out of Lord of the Rings and Neverending Story and Labyrinth all in one. I thought this scene was one of the most beautiful scenes ever in Star Trek, honestly, and this season has been the most gorgeous season of any Star Trek season in regard to any part of world building, aesthetic you want to discuss, be it physical landscapes or props or CGI setting. The Mandalorian gets a lot of credit for their creations, as well they should, but I think more people need to talk about how gorgeous the season of Discovery is. Let me know right now in the comments, is this season beautiful or what? They come across a Kelpian who is in front of a locked door that something is trying to get out of. The door is swung open and the Kelpian runs off. Saru wants to rush after the child, showing his distraction towards saving another Kelpian, and Burnham is able to formulate a plan that requires her to see what is behind the door while they search for the Kelpian. Back on the ship, the Discovery loses contact with the away team. Stamets is working to get the power they need, but as they are making repairs, they see a ship incoming that appears to be from the Federation. It doesn't seem to fool anyone, and is pretty obvious that trouble is on the way. Saru and Culber come across a room of holograms. The hologram that addresses them seems to be a Vulcan, but there are two alien holograms there as well. One of them looks like an alien out of Star Wars, but that can't be right, so if you know what species either of these are, please let me know in the comments. These holograms are malfunctioning as well, and explain they have been active for over 125 years. The Vulcan hologram does reveal why the away team looks different, is so their appearance does not disturb the child. Next we see Burnham, who is searching for whatever is behind the door. Down drops this really cool creature that looks like a Dementor from Avatar or something, and Michael tries to communicate with it. I usually don't like gray monsters, but I really did like this thing, and it seemed like something Doug Jones might have played. She startles it and it starts to chase her. She falls off a ledge but starts to fall up, further driving home the Inception feel of the staircase. Back on Discovery, the crew awaits the arrival of the incoming vessel. It turns out it is Osyraa, and she warps right in front of them. Is anyone else curious how Osyraa was able to find Discovery so quickly? There has to be a leak somewhere, right? It better not be Book or Vance, because I already like them, but let me know, do you think it is weird that the Emerald Chain knew where Discovery was right after they were trying to draw them out earlier in the episode? Burnham wakes up and is greeted by the Kelpian. If this actor seems familiar to you, it is probably because you have seen him in something before, as he is actor Bill Irwin, who is known for his vaudeville style. He's one of those guys that is just in a lot of stuff, like How the Grinch Stole Christmas, My Blue Heaven, Law & Order, and he was Mr. Noodle on Sesame Street. Burnham acts like a hologram so that he will communicate with her. It is obvious that he does not want to discuss anything outside his world, but does want to communicate with someone new. Saru and Culber continue to search and find a hologram of a Kelpian elder, who in turn is the oldest Kelpian Saru has ever seen. I really like this scene because this one hologram is the personification of his efforts to evolve his race past their oppression by the Ba'ul. They also learn that the Kelpian's name is Su'Kal, which Saru translate as the name used to mark the end of a suffering after a tragedy. They speak to the elder and he states that he is programmed to tell the stories of Kelpians and Ba'ul, showing that the two cultures did eventually coexist. They assume that Dr. Isa created this holographic environment when she knew that she and the crew would not survive, but that Su'Kal would. There have been 2 episodes of Star Trek that I can recall that had similar storylines, as in the Deep Space Nine episode Shadowplay, a man creates a holographic village for him and his daughter after his planet is destroyed by the Dominion, and in the Enterprise episode Oasis, which included Renee Aberzanwa sans Odo makeup, much like Doug Jones in this episode of Discovery, as an engineer who recreates the crew of his ship for his daughter after they are killed. Interestingly though, in those 2 episodes, neither creator wanted to be rescued, and in this episode it looks like the crew was expecting an eventual rescue. Burnham continues to try and connect with Su'Kal. She is still not able to, and as he leaves, she notices her skin is being affected by the radiation. Culber also notices the issue and he implores Saru to help search for the child. It is obvious that Saru is taken by the Elder and starts to remember his time at Kaminar. It seems that Saru is still very homesick, and I hope this is not setting up Saru to leave the show. The Elder also shows Saru the story of the creature Burnham saw earlier, and together Saru and Culber go off towards the Dark Tower to find Su'Kal. Osyraa arrives and her and Tilly have a back and forth. Tilly talks a pretty good game here, but she is obviously worried and for good reason. Back on the planet, the group is able to reunite and they see the monster approach Su'Kal, who then lets out a huge energy burst from his body. The burst disrupts the warp core matrices of both ships as they decloak. Tilly gets the Discovery ready to jump, but Stamets refuses to leave the away team. Adira tells Reno they have a plan and asks for Reno's badge. Back on the planet, Saru sings a Kelpian lullaby to soothe Su'Kal, which also makes the monster leave. Book's ship leaves Discovery, but before Discovery can jump away, they are boarded by the Emerald Chain. Book contacts the away team and states that whatever happened on the planet can't happen again because it almost caused another burn. The away team concludes that Su'Kal must have caused the burn, and being born on the planet caused his body to adapt to survive. Saru and Culber stay to try and save Su'Kal while Burnham beams to Book's ship. Back on his ship, it appears that Adira has snuck aboard and taken medication to give to the away team. Book is able to save Burnham, and she tells them they have to go back for the rest of the away team later, which now includes Adira, but because of Adira, they will be able to survive longer. The Emerald Chain puts some kind of skull cap on Stamets, which puts him in a trance and forces him into the spore drive chamber. In the past, we have seen Orions have similar devices on their heads, so this is probably the same kind of technology. Osyraa appears and takes the bridge from Tilly while also putting in the coordinates for Starfleet headquarters. She's able to jump there using the Discovery while it is attached to her ship, no doubt setting up a battle there in the next episode. I thought this was a pretty good episode, and I like that Osyraa is taking a bigger part in the story after being more of a nuisance for most of the season. It was cool to see Tilly in the captain's chair, although losing the ship is probably not something she expected to happen first time out. But again, my gripe is that I'm not a huge fan of having one person, a child, be responsible for a cataclysm that changed the fate of the universe. It doesn't seem like a science fiction type resolution, more so something that would happen in a comic book. And don't get me wrong, I love comic books. But I don't know, I guess I was hoping for the burn to tie back to something that we have already seen in Star Trek, and with 2 episodes left, it still may. One thing I did find intriguing was that the meaning of Su'Kal is to commemorate healing after a tragedy. While this may mean that his mother named him after the tragedy of their ship being stranded, I wonder if it has a deeper and more nefarious meaning in regard to the cause of the burn. Perhaps it is not a mistake that Su'Kal was born under these circumstances and was instead engineered to cause a catastrophe like the burn. The story reminds me of Icheb, who was a popular character that was assimilated as a child into the Borg and later freed from the collective. It was learned by the crew of Voyager that his parents actually wanted him to be assimilated because they engineered him to cause a virus that would destroy them, so something similar could have happened with Su'Kal that would in turn make the Federation and the Kelpians responsible for the burn. I also think that there's a mole somewhere because there's no way that Osyraa could have known about where the Discovery was so quickly. I hope I'm not disappointed when I learn who it is. But you let me know, what did I miss? Finally, As I mentioned, I am fully launching my Patreon campaign for this channel, and I'm very excited because I think that is going to lead me to being able to interact with a lot of you and for us to collectively help others. I will put a link in the description below to the page, but on screen here, you can see the benefits of each level of being a misfit. And if you have any further questions, please drop them in the comments and I will respond. The thing I am most excited about is that each month I will donate 10% of the net amount earned in the Patreon account to a charity, and each month you misfits will get to suggest charities that are important to you. I will also share the amount donated each month and to where, and I can't wait to share stuff like that with you all. So please check it out if you're interested. I think you definitely want to like this video if you're still watching, and I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?